Hi everyone, thanks for coming, welcome. I hope you enjoy what we're going to tell you about today. So, just to set the scene, 3 years ago I hadn't heard of Tableau. Lloyds Banking Group, where I work, biggest bank in the UK, didn't use Tableau. I ran a team of reporting analysts. We produced hundreds of reports in Excel, quite a complex, messy sort of scene, similar to what's on the slide there. We had PowerPoints, manually refreshing PowerPoints. We also had business objects for self-service, but that wasn't great. Also across the organisation, it's a big organisation, about 80,000 employees. There were hundreds of teams doing analytics, doing reporting. None of them really talked to each other. We didn't really know each other existed. So bit of a sort of a messy environment. For a bank that was rapidly becoming the biggest digital bank in the UK, this didn't feel very digital from a BI perspective. And also for a bank that prides itself in building relationships with customers, this didn't feel very community.
So enough of the doom and gloom, let's fast forward to today. Lloyds Banking Group has really rapidly grown its Tableau user base. It's felt kind of exponential actually. So 3 years ago we had 0 users pretty much, and we've now got 6,000 server users today. It's probably actually more than that. This is 6,000 users in the business who are able to self-service data when they need it, 24/7, to make business decisions based on accurate data. We're finally getting to a place where we've got data democratization. But to supply this, we've also got a small army of developers. So we've got 900 desktop users, and these users are the ones who are really pushing forward visualization around the group. I think it's the step forward in visualization that's really helped Tableau land and spread around Lloyds Banking Group. Not only are these people getting rid of all the 3D pie charts that we were originally seeing, they are also allowing our other analysts to do the real value-add analytics, going a step further and finding out the real whys. But it's not just the outputs we've been focused on. As you probably heard in the keynote today, community is really key. And so what we've been doing is breaking down the barriers to collaboration, community, and working together. Analysts are finally starting to talk, which is surprisingly hard. We've come a really long way in just 3 years, and if a really large bank that has a lot of red tape and governance, out-of-date processes can do it in this time, we're pretty sure anyone can. And so what we're here today to talk to you about is how we've got to where we are, so some of the community steps we've taken, and we really hope that you will learn from what we're telling you, and you can implement at least one thing you hear in your own business. But first, I think we should probably introduce ourselves.
Thanks, Pippa. So yeah, I'm Fred Thomas. I work in Group Analytics. I've been working in Lloyds Banking Group for over 10 years. I've worked in various analytical reporting teams. I currently run a team of reporting analysts, pretty much Tableau developers. I love Tableau, I love visualization, I love creating self-service solutions. What I'm not so good at is getting out there, building networks, building community. That's where Pippa comes in. She joined my team about 3 years ago. She's proved herself to be really talented with Tableau and technically, visualization-wise as well. And she's also great at community.
Thanks, Fred. So, as Fred says, I joined the group 3.5 years ago. I've actually come from a scientific background, and out of my physics degree, I went straight into a scientific company building measurement instruments. And very quickly, I learned that people who you expect to understand data, so scientists, professors, engineers, misinterpreted data all the time. And this is where I got a real passion for data visualization, and how can we get the message across in the best way. So this is where I thought, I need to go into data, I need to find a company that's doing that. And I moved to Lloyds, one of the biggest databases in the UK. It's like a playground for data. I joined Fred's team, and it was just as they were starting their journey with Tableau. And I saw Fred as a real driving force to actually implementing that and making it a success within Group Analytics. And so I thought we needed this wider around the group, and actually we need to help support everyone around Lloyds Banking Group, not just our team. And that's where the community was born, as a bit of a side of desk activity, and now it's become a full-time job.
Cool, so what are we going to talk about? First of all, I'm going to share with you some of the stuff we've been doing with Tableau in Lloyds Banking Group, just give you some examples of how we've been taking visualization forward. Also talk very briefly about some of the challenges we've been having.
And we're overcoming some of those challenges by building the community, as I was telling you about earlier. This community is I think, fantastic and is a great way that we're going to make Tableau a success. So we'd love to share that with you.
And finally, we're going to bring it together by sharing an example of some great work we've been doing and we've been using the community to do to create some Tableau vizzes. So we're going to share with you some Tableau vizzes that our community has built. So first, just take a step back. I'm sure if you're from the UK, you're familiar with Lloyds Banking Group. If you're not, I hope you've heard of us. So big bank in the UK, biggest bank, 30 million plus customers. It's the UK's leading retail bank provider and the largest digital bank in the UK with something like 14 million active digital users. We cover a number of brands, not all of them are there on the screen, but they're very well known household names. It's a bank that's grown up over time, so lots of legacy organisations, been lots of mergers, lots of infrastructure joining together. A big organisation, a lot of silos, a lot of departments, a lot of different ways of doing stuff. So it's quite a challenging environment to build a sort of a consistent way of doing stuff across the group and breaking down those silos. Because of that, it was recognised a year and a half, 2 years ago to create a centre of excellence for analytics in the group. So that's where me and Pippa sit in group analytics. Group analytics covers a broad range of technical analytical data exploitation teams. So from data science through to data engineering, storytelling, visualisation, and business insights, business intelligence, which is where me and Pippa sit. Some of the things we have been doing with Tableau, I've blurred these dashboards just to get around the sensitive nature of them, but hopefully give you a flavour for sort of some of the stuff we've been doing with Tableau in the BI space. We've been producing a lot of dashboardy type stuff, tracking strategic projects, and bringing that to the exec to use. We report a lot on customer segmentation and allow users, stakeholders to look at our customers by life stage, by age, by region, and explore that further. We do stuff on customer journeys, so there's a lot of interactions with our customers, and we're trying to simplify that and revolutionise how we do business with our customers. So we use Tableau to visualise how we simplify those journeys over time and the performance. In the middle there's what we kind of call reference packs, which is just where we started with our self-service. What we wanted to do is basically reduce the amount of simple questions that are being asked of our analytical teams. When people say, how many customers have we got? How many customers use digital banking? That sort of thing. We've produced reference packs with a lot of filterability and basically provide self-service solution to answer quick questions. We also create a lot of performance reporting for our marketing activity. Things like cohort analysis, statistical analysis of our sort of marketing activity. And we've been getting more into things like tracking consumer behaviour, and we're going to share some of that later, some of the visits we've done in that space. And being a bank, we've got MI, which we've put into Tableau, which just gives some simple answers to questions like how many customers have got these products, what are the product mixes across customers, and the opportunities. So quite a broad range of stuff we cover just in our team, but the other teams across Lloyds are obviously producing more content. Just want to share with you some of the ways we've been improving the quality of our outputs recently to try and drive sort of standards up. Pippa showed this earlier. So this is, I think, quite a good example of how we've taken some sort of what would be a standard dashboard and put some really good viz on there to tell a story. So the work we do on customer journeys looks at, this is test data, but for example, if a customer wants a product, how many steps do they have to go through? So it would normally be a traditional sort of funnel type diagram, but this viz shows customers going through each step in a particular funnel, how those customers flow across or sort of jump across steps, and also how many dropouts we get from those different steps, alongside a lot of sort of performance metrics around the edges. Quite powerful stuff, and this is being rolled out across all our journeys in the bank, and this kind of visualization is really hitting the mark with the exec. So really liking where we're going.
This viz actually has allowed us to identify some data issues as well. We're conscious that our data is never going to be always perfect. And so visualizing the data like this, we can see where there's someone who jumps straight from the start right to the end, which is obviously something's going on, and we've been able to now go and fix those data issues. So using visualization is not just helping understand the journey, but it's helping us understand the data that sits behind it as well.
Something else we've been working on is consistency around look and feel, best practice around visualization, templating some of the basics around dashboarding. There was quite a lot of resistance from the start around templating some of the standards, so front covers we've definitely put more of a templated feel to, and around the edges of the reports where we come to navigation, branding on logos and headings, information pop-outs. This sort of stuff, we've pretty much made a standard. And we're rolling that out across our dashboards and across the other teams doing reporting. I think it's really useful to, the team at first, like I say, didn't necessarily like templates, but actually when you do the basics and you can do them quickly and consistently, people can actually focus on doing the innovative visualization. So it's actually hit the mark really well.
Also, as we're moving to a more data democracy, or however you want to phrase it, we've got people who might not be as data literate able to access our reports, and so we have taken a lot of time to make it easy to use and focus on those information pop-outs. People can work out where the source data is, any caveats, and you can just fill in a wealth of information to reduce the likelihood of people misreading what you've got in the viz.
Something else we've been introducing quite recently as well is usage stats on our reporting. So we've produced a lot of self-service reports and we've got a lot of users, but we were kind of frustrated because we didn't really know how people are using them and how we could simplify them. So actually bringing in usage stats for reports has started to drive simplification for us, so we can see what's not being used, what's being liked, but also it identifies those heavy users or those people who are not using who we need to then go and talk to and understand how we can improve stuff going forward. Finally, what the team has been doing as well is not just using Tableau for dashboarding and BI. We've been using it in our advanced analytics team for data exploration and also visualizing some of the findings they've made through their more advanced methods. So that's something we want to explore much more, and I don't think we've used enough of. This is a really good example of how they've used it to do some branch analysis, looking at sort of the impact of closing branches across the UK. Just want to touch on some of the challenges we've been having recently and some of the stuff we're trying to overcome. Talking about, it was touched on at the keynote speech earlier about going to scale. So we've got about 6,000 server users, but we want to have the whole organization using Tableau. So we're looking at potentially 70, 80,000 people across Lloyds using Tableau and becoming more data savvy. So we're currently looking at how we can scale Tableau. So looking at the funding for that, scaling it onto a cloud solution, being much quicker and agile around getting the versioning in. We're on I think 2 years out-of-date version of Tableau, which is quite unfortunate. So we're really keen to make that process of getting in more agile and making sure the governance, like I was saying earlier, is tight, given we're a bank. We've also got a challenge. I don't know if other people in the room have got this challenge, but other people in the group or outside are looking at other tools and how they fit into the estate and misconceptions around the value of them or how much they cost. So Power BI is definitely one that's being talked about a lot in the group, but we're obviously trying to steer away from those conversations and work out where both tools play. And finally, breaking down silos. So really interested in the stuff that was shown earlier about the improvements to the server, because the challenge we have had with Tableau is for the server and how it's partitioned into different sites, and maybe the searchability across that site or the access is quite creates some barriers to sharing of information across different business areas, different departments. And alongside that, the cultural silos that exist across our analytical teams, and the fact until recently, we haven't really had a community talking to each other.
And so these team silos, we feel, have come from this constant centralized and decentralized discussion that's been going on. Should you have a central function that sucks up all of your small analytics teams and they own analytics for the group. Or, once it reaches a critical mass and actually can't deliver everything that it's meant to, it seems to explode out into this decentralized model again. I'll just wait for the last one to get sucked up there. And then it explodes out again. And so we've been in this constant cycle, which creates quite a lot of, I suppose, fractions across the group of who talks to who, are they trying to steal my work, and it becomes quite protectionist. So what we're moving to now is this hub and spoke model. This is where you build a center of excellence their strategy is to push forward on how the group is doing analytics and BI. We then leave the actual analytics in some of the departments if they can handle it. So savings, for instance, will probably know the savings business best, what's topical, their data, and what's coming up on their strategy. And then group analytics can go in and help support the savings business on making sure they're doing analytics in the best way.
We've also talked about this like being a franchise model. I've heard other organisations talk about a franchise model, but yeah, we use hub and spoke as the terminology.
We also have a challenge is we've got quite a lot of users. I know in the keynote they were talking about quite a few more than us, but 900 desktop users is a lot of conversation to have. I think the capacity of this room is about 200. So if you look around, it's nearly over four times the number of people who are in this room. It's a lot of conversations. You've even got people in Singapore who are on a completely different time zone.
So that's where community comes in. So dictionary definition of community is a group of people living in the same place or having particular characteristics in common.
But we didn't think this was very Tableau, so we've adulterated this. And we think community is a group of Tableau fanatics working in the same place or having a particular love of Tableau in common. One of the things that we found quite challenging with focusing on community is it's quite hard to sell into your senior management. It doesn't have a monetary value, it doesn't have a balance sheet, but we've seen a huge amount of benefits, and actually, if you follow these through longer term, they do have quite high monetary values. So just to pull out a few, onboarding and training. If you can get people upskilled and working at their capacity quicker, you'll definitely reap the rewards of your community. You've then also got kind of collaboration and remove duplication. We've seen a lot of teams who are kind of doing the same sort of work, and now by allowing one team to do that, the other team can focus on something new and innovative.
Mutual support's a really good one for the team. So my teams really enjoy collaborating amongst itself, but when you broaden that community out and give that wider support network, it's extremely powerful.
I think longer term as well on that one, that can also help with staff retention as well. If you feel like you're part of something, it really helps you. One of the biggest barriers to learning is people's own anxiety and fears about failing. So if you've got a support network there, it really helps with that. So how have we done that? We've built a central community hub, which is called the Tableau Exchange. This is on an internal kind of social media platform. And we set this up, I think probably 2.5 years ago, where we wanted to build a repository of content. We've got answered questions on there. People can go and ask anything, or what's happening with the server today, or I can't work out how to make my label show up on this chart. And we get responses from that in like 10 minutes, which is pretty unbelievable when you think those people are sat in completely different areas of the UK. We've also got popular content. Lloyds Banking Group, data protection is obviously very close to our heart. And so we have a lot of lockdowns to accessing information online we might not be able to access. Forums, YouTube videos, training. And so what we've started to do is anybody who can get access to that sort of content, they'll go on and publish it onto the Tableau Exchange. We've now got a huge library of stuff that everyone can access. And we also advertise events. There is a huge amount of value in being able to meet face-to-face and actually have a conversation. So we try and advertise kind of user groups, conferences, webinars, and anything that we think might be useful to the community. But we don't just do stuff online. As I say, we try and get people to meet face-to-face. And here you can see an image of the Tableau conference we ran internally. And this was a safe space, I suppose, where anyone from around the group could come and share how they'd been using Tableau, what it meant to their business, and the innovative things they were doing.
It was a fantastic day. I presented, and it was great to see the others around the teams presenting as well. Built some really good networks and contacts.
Yeah, I think we had 170 people come to this, and it's pretty impressive when everyone has to travel and get a day out of their day job. So We also try and reach people who don't currently use Tableau. Obviously, I think everyone here probably has a particular interest in Tableau, but not everyone does. And we think that Tableau can add a lot of value to our advanced analytics teams. And so Tableau kindly supported the R in Python conference, which we held in their London offices. And this was a chance for our advanced analytics teams to share what they'd been doing on R and Python, but we obviously got some Tableau in there and showed them how they could visualize those great outputs. We are also conscious that sometimes in the day job, people don't have the space and freedom to really test their creativity. And so we run events like hackathons. This is our most recent hackathon, which we called Data Make a Difference, where we gave all the attendees some mental health data and a day to try and come up with something really good for our charity partners, Mental Health UK. We actually had a huge variety of levels there as well. So we had data engineers, we had people who hadn't picked up Tableau before and wanted to learn it, and then we had more advanced users who could help support. And then finally, we try and get inclusion. We're very conscious that in the data field, we might have underrepresentation in certain demographics. And so we're trying to do as much as we can to outreach and level the playing field, I suppose. Here's a picture of the Women in Data event that we attended and spoke at, and trying to get involved as much as we can in those sort of networks. But it's all good me showing you all the fun stuff we've done. Don't underestimate the amount of work it's taken to get here. It's a bit of a slog, so just we're going to go over some of the things we've done to get there. 4 things really stand out in my mind that have really helped. So clear strategy. Tableau was our strategic reporting tool, which made it really easy to go into areas and really and say, this is what the group wants us to be doing. Build Tableau into your strategy. See what you can do by saying to the execs, actually, you're not going to have a PowerPoint deck or an Excel. I'm going to deliver this to you on an iPad in Tableau. We've got a driven center of excellence. So we've got a hub focused on analytics. We're trying to give those people space and time to focus on advancing what we can do. Next is making connections. You can never talk to enough people when you're building a community. Find some chatty people, put them on your community. And then finally, passionate people. These are the people who are going to drive the content, keep your community alive. If you don't want to be doing it all yourself constantly, find those passionate people and reward them. So I don't have kids of my own, but growing this community has felt a little bit like having a child. You go from the newborn phase where you've decided to bring this community into life, and it's going to take a lot of input. It takes a huge amount of time, and it's looking for you for all of its input.
And we move on to infant stage. So it's when you're starting out, investigating the world, bit of trial and error.
Your community will then go to school. It's making its first friends and starting its educational journey.
And then flying the nest. So starting university, maybe starting a job, paying back to society.
So let's look at that in more detail. You've seen this page before, but this is where we started, and it's time to get the basics right. Your community needs to be easily searchable, it needs to be easily accessible, and it also needs to have the content that you've got on there. You need to be able to find it again. It's going to build really quickly, so be conscious and think about where this community, where you want to get to, and make sure you're building it ready for the future. Your community is then going to go and investigate the world close to you. So this is a chance to go and find other users. The Tableau conference you saw earlier was actually one of our best events for surfacing what other people were doing. Everybody wanted to have a day off talking about fun stuff. So we actually had huge engagement, and people from all different divisions, I think, were there. I don't think there was a single division that didn't turn up and show their faces. So we really got to learn what people were trying to do with data, what they were trying to do with Tableau, where they were on their journey. It's also important at this stage to talk to support teams. So Lloyds Banking Group, as I said before, has a lot of red tape and governance, as you'd probably expect for a bank. Tableau in our organisation doesn't operate quite the same as Tableau advertises. We've got an IT team who handle all of our server, they handle all of our data connections. And so what we had to do as kind of one of the early adopters is go through quite a painful path of working out how the heck you connect to the group data warehouse. And so what we've done is we've shared all that content and made it easier for everyone else to operate within kind of our infrastructure. And then finally open to a small group. So this is kind of a safe space to go and test and learn, as you said. You might fail, you might find some content just falls dead and disappears off the face of the earth, but you also might find what people like, what people interact with. So get feedback, talk to people about what's going on. Now you're off to school, so you're making your first friends and starting your education journey. One way we've found to really build strong, lasting relationships was to offer help and not ask for anything back. Can feel like a bit of a thankless task, but has really paid dividends now that actually people want to work with us, and now they've got up to speed, we're learning from them as well. Research and training, your content needs to be at the forefront. You need to be doing the interesting stuff, otherwise people don't want to talk to you. Keep up to date, and also getting basic training on there is really good because it means you don't have to repeat yourself every time someone picks up a desktop license. So get the basics onto the hub. And then finally, encourage content. It doesn't create itself. I wouldn't say people are lazy, but it slips people's minds quite often if they're doing something cool to put it onto the hub. And so every time I saw something interesting, I was chasing people down saying, please, can you put it on the hub? I think everyone else will find that really useful. If you've got a question for me, can you put it on there so everyone else can see the answer? Yeah, and something I certainly found was useful to promote this was to create time in the team, make sure people have got the time away from their normal jobs to go and talk to people, post stuff, do the collaboration stuff, because it does reap benefits in the long run. So finally, your community now should have gained some momentum. You should be not kind of as tied to it as you were before. This is a great opportunity to promote effective use. We've got a load of users, limited resources, and so we're using the community to make sure that we're managing our server in the right way. We're trying to make sure that people are building effective workbooks, not storing loads of data on the Tableau server, not hitting the server with loads of small requests constantly. And so this is where the community is really starting to pay back. We've also tried and become a support function. Things do sometimes go wrong. Your server might go down, you might find a bug. And the community now can start telling the rest of the business what's going on. So use this as a way to do that. And then finally, this is where you really start reaping the rewards, is go and crowdsource. And this is the stuff that we're really excited to show you. So yeah, we knew we were coming to the Tableau conference to present. A lot of our material is quite sensitive, so we did a shout out to the community to see if people could come along and help us visualize some information that we could share. A bunch of people volunteered, came along to an event. We held in a day sort of a hackathon, Iron Viz sort of internal type thing. Really good day, really good energy. The challenge we gave them was the UK Consumer Digital Index. So this is a study that Lloyds Banking Group has been involved with for about 4 years. My team's been contributing from an analytical point of view to the study. It's, I think, the biggest research study looking at consumer behaviour in the UK. Interviews about 4,000 people every year. We also look at our internal data, so 1 million customers, to analyse their transactional behaviour. It's really there to benchmark the digital capability of the UK, but also the financial capability and interplay between the two. So really interesting study, some really interesting insights. And so this is how the insights look on the website. And being a data visualization team, we thought we could do better. I don't think you can pull out the key facts from that page of text. There's nothing really hard-hitting there. And so what we tasked our community with was, can you take this and our 1 million customer sample and the 4,000 survey respondents, I think it's actually 9,000, it's a lot. So there's a huge number of respondents and data. Can you take that, visualize this data in a more engaging way to get the message out? And so what we're going to do is show you what the community came up with. And this is where we turn to the risky bit, because we have a Tableau demo. It would help if I could find my mouse. There we go. So, let me go to the start. One of the key findings is actually that there's 11.3 million people in the UK who don't have all 5 basic digital skills they need for day-to-day life. It's pretty much 1 in 5. That's a huge number of people who don't have basic skills that everybody in this room, I'm pretty sure, takes for granted. Now these categories fall into, there's 5 categories. So you've got problem solving, creating, transacting, communicating, and managing information. And then underneath each of those categories, we ask our respondents a series of questions of whether they can or can't do certain tasks. We pulled out a couple here that we thought were really interesting, particularly for banking. So, unable to verify sources of information I found online. Fraud is a really hot topic for banking at the moment. Fraudsters are getting very clever with how they're imitating banks. If our customers are unable to verify those sources and tell whether it's a fraudster or a legitimate email, how can we help them? And so we need to start working with those customers to make sure that they're able to do that now. You've got creating. So as we talked about earlier, we're focused a lot on our customer journeys, and a huge proportion of those are digital. There are 16% of people who can't do creating tasks are unable to complete online application forms which include personal details. That is a whole heap of our customer journeys that a certain number of people in the UK cannot access. So we need to make sure that we're helping upskill people in kind of basic form filling in. And then we go on to transacting. I'll just pull out one more. People are unable to buy and install apps on a device. We've got a fantastic banking app. We're closing branches because it is impossible to keep all branches open in the current climate. These apps are the way that people can do their day-to-day banking. You can pay in checks, you can freeze your card or a new card. It's a way of accessing all of our services pretty much. There's people who can't even download that app, and so we need to help people understand how to do that as well. What's even more worrying though is 4.3 million people in the UK, that's nearly 1 in 10, have 0 basic digital skills. And when we split that across different demographics, we see that women are overrepresented in that sample. We also see that it's targeting our older generations more, so 76% of those people are retired. 81% of those people do not have access to the internet at work, school, or home. And that's particularly important for the younger generations. In the UK, a lot of schoolwork nowadays is completed online, and so we're working and setting up a digital academy to help those children access the internet. And then finally, we've got 46% on low income. We'll discuss that further in a second. When we split this across the regions as well, we can see there's quite a lot of disparity across the UK. London, probably as you'd expect, is got quite high digital inclusion. But when we look at Wales, you can see that they are the most digitally excluded region, with 19% don't have any basic digital skills. And if I click into the region, it should pop out, what we can see is, again, there's variation within the region. So the size of the bubble is the number of respondents we had in those areas, and the colour determines their digital inclusion score. So the more red, the bad. So what you can see is the larger cities, so Cardiff, Newport, are more digitally included and more in line with the rest of the UK. Whereas if we look at the more rural regions, they're clearly struggling a lot more. It might be because internet access isn't as available in the more rural regions. This is why we're working with local authorities and councils to help them understand what's actually going on under the surface. But the report isn't just about digital skills. We care a lot about financial resilience as well. We want to make sure that the UK is able to prosper. And within that, we've also found something quite worrying. It's that 31% of people in the UK have in the past had anxiety caused by money worries. We split this across multiple regions, and you can see it's not even across all of the regions. One of the best things we found, though, is that people who responded to this said that that anxiety was reduced by being able to access their financial information, their banking 24/7. And so getting people upskilled on how to use digital banking and access apps could really help this.
To explore that relationship between digital and finance further, the guys came up with an animation. Can we animate that?
Oh, yeah.
So this is increasing digital capability on the bottom, and average salary going up the left-hand side. The little circles are customers in our sample that we've analysed. So it just shows that as you are more digitally capable, average salary increases over time. It's quite a neat way, I think, of showing that sort of disaggregated data. Again, another animation that the guys came up with. Loving this. So it's a similar thing. It's across the age groups. On the bottom shows the relationship again with average salary. So the green dots there are those consumers that are digitally capable. The white ones are those who are not. And it just shows across all age groups, particularly pronounced in the sort of 30 to 39 range, that if you're digitally capable, you're earning a higher salary. Also resembles an elephant, which is quite by chance.
Okay.
Crazy.
So this viz take a little bit of explaining, and this is what happens when you let people run with their creativity. They tend to come up with something really cool and complex. So how does the internet affect life in the UK? What we've done here is we've ranked some of the statements by different age groups about how much people agreed or disagreed with a statement. And so, if I try and explain this to make it clearer, you've got age band along the top, and then we've got that by the different years that they've answered the survey. We've got the ranking going down the y-axis, and then these are the statements. The one that we think is really interesting here, though, that always comes out really highly, is helps me connect better with friends and family. The internet is helping build community, and this links back to what we're doing across Lloyds Banking Group, trying to build community and using technology to do that. Okay. Just trying to locate my mouse again.
Cool. So I hope you like those visits. Like I said, the community got together in a very short amount of time to build them and pull that story together. So I think that's really exciting. Hoping to do more events like that in the future. If you're interested in following up on any of the stats or reading the fuller reports, the Consumer Digital Index, the latest one, was actually launched in London a few weeks back. Lord Mayor of London was there to launch a great event. There's also a sister study called the Business and Charity Digital Index, which does a similar thing, but obviously for businesses and charities. What we want to do in the future is actually take some of the stuff the community's done and build out further and actually create a Tableau public version of this report. And that would be really fantastic for people to explore the insights themselves.
Will be a very big challenge trying to get that through the governance, but we're determined to do it.
So final thoughts. So as you've seen, Tableau has helped Lloyds Banking Group unlock insight from data. I think the stuff we've been doing in dashboard, advanced analytics, and with the community has all been driving the agenda forward in terms of how we can really use data to help the strategy. Using it in innovative ways has really helped digitize what we do. Got a lot less PowerPoint, a lot more people looking at interactive reporting, and democratizing data in Lloyds.
We've been able to establish a centre of excellence. In this centre of excellence, we've seen huge leaps and bounds in our outputs. I think probably in the last year and a half, we've seen some of the biggest changes, actually. And we think that that's been such a success around the whole group because of building that analytics community and the thriving Tableau community that sits within that. Now, we are conscious, though, as Lloyds Banking Group, we have been very insular in creating our community. And we know there's some amazing stuff going on, I'm sure in probably all of your businesses as well. And what we'd love to do is start talking to you all about your journey, what you've learned, and what's worked well in your own businesses. So please come and talk to us after, get in contact. We're here to chat.
So thanks for listening.